Veterans for Peace is a good organization. I would call them a real liberal organization. I've seen them do good work against war and, you know, not spend all their time promoting socialism. And I've known some Veterans for Peace people and found them to be quality folks like Don Darling here in town, who was a nuclear submarine captain, friend of mine. I haven't had him on in years. Got to check in on him and get him back on the show and get him in studio. But Phil Restino is Veterans for Peace head in Central Florida, big chapter. He was friends with the late, great Bob Bowman, former head of the Star Wars program, Colonel Bowman, Dr. Bowman, nuclear physicist, chemical engineer, you name it. He died a few weeks ago after a long, decade-long battle with leukemia. Basically had a form of blood cancer. And great guy. I remember he'd come in here and do interviews with us. He'd go out immediately, just lay down in his RV. Saw him last year. He was here. He's going to be in Obama deception, too. That's how long I've been working on this. But we don't have a lot of time. I appreciate Phil coming on. The head of the Veterans for Peace nationally, Mike Finner, has intervened for 2 years to keep Veterans for Peace National President Elliott Adams from sending the same letter to members of Congress calling for a resolution to impeach Obama. So it's not enough to just have all the Hollywood people and folks, you know, go, okay, Obama conned us. He's worse than Bush with the press, worse than Bush on so many issues, because he's more effective at evil. And so we must politically destroy him, even though he's a puppet to stop the agenda, to stop the wars, to stop the Syria, starting that war, escalating that war. And so I want to commend Phil Restino. I know he's really active because I see his work all the time. Out of all the Veterans for Peace people, he's very effective. Let's say a few words first about Bob Bowman. And then I want to get into, we have a clip of this, of the president of your group calling to go after Bush, but not Obama. You guys are an important, influential group with what you'd call the left. I would just call it the real left, not the authoritarian left, and trying to get an impeachment resolution going. You know, why is it all the libertarians doing that, not the Republican leadership or Democratic leadership? It shows how paid off they are. But Phil, good to have you on, joining us via Skype.
Oh, thank you, Alex. Thank you for the opportunity to get our story out today. And I've got so much to tell you, I can hardly wait to hear what it is. But you mentioned Bob Bowman, and if I could, whatever good comes from this interview, we'd like to dedicate it to Dr. Bob Bowman. And there's a couple of things I do have to clear up. Any criticism that I do have of Veterans for Peace and the anti-war organizations as a whole is because I believe in the Veterans for Peace statement of purpose. I believe in what they practiced, the principles they practiced during the Bush years, which got me to join them. And as far as the president of Veterans for Peace, you mentioned Mike Ferner. He's a former president of Veterans for Peace, but he's the fellow that gave that fiery speech in 2005, which led me to join Veterans for Peace. And we did eventually pass a resolution in 2011 at the national level calling for Congress to impeach Obama for the same war crimes we cited in our call for impeaching Bush. And at that particular time, there was the president was Elliott Adams in 2011. And
now, yeah, I don't know all the inside baseball. I'm just going off your letter you sent us.
Sure.
So bottom line, how do we get Veterans for Peace to take action?
Well, right now, we have this article out on Activist Post, and I appreciate you folks taking note of it. It's called Timeline to Veterans for Peace's Vote to Impeach Obama, 2009 to 2013. And if we could direct your audience to that article on activistpost.com, all the links and the whole story's there.
Okay.
But what we have is a resolution right now, 2 years later, which if it passes next month when the membership votes, it will force the president, the current president, Patrick McCann of Veterans for Peace, to issue the same letter and deliver it to members of Congress as was done in 2005 for Bush. That has not been done for 2 years now since the resolution to impeach Obama passed in 2011.
Well, again, I just think it's disgusting that he's been given the Peace Prize and that all the so-called lefties are really a bunch of authoritarians. on the national stage dancing around going, nanny, nanny, boo-boo, our guy won. I was there criticizing Bush for all his warmongering. It's just disgusting. I can't see how all the so-called anti-war left, when we've got the government starting wars openly now and overthrowing all these countries and just engaging in mass murder of Christians, you name it. And I don't hear anything out of the anti-war movement because it's just too trendy to love Barack Obama.
Well, it's been a shame, and this is why we've been there's a lot of us in the rank and file, Alex, that are never heard from, and that's why we're criticizing the national leadership, because that's what the impression the general public gets is from them, unless you're active locally, and that's what your local community gets. But our chapter of Veterans for Peace, I don't think you could call us left or right. We just stick to the statement of purpose. And we had a good example in Bob Bowman being a member of our chapter. As you know, Bob Bowman, during the last years of his life, was very strong on the getting out the word about the artificial divide of Americans between left and right. There's a great in-studio interview you did with him back in July of 2009, which we made into a DVD, and his article of July 2010 called Left and Right Together. Your interview with him back then is entitled America is Artificially Divided. And that's what we have here. And I believe that that is the biggest threat to our security in this country, is this divide. And no,
I agree with you. And it's because of that false left-right paradigm. It doesn't mean that on the so-called left and right, there aren't real issue differences. But the system uses those terms just to get people not to work together.
Exactly.
And again, the so-called left, where are they? Criticizing Obama on the NDAA, on persecution of the press, on all of it. All Americans need to come together against this, and Obama needs to be impeached. Impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, just as Dennis Kucinich, has now been critical of Obama. He got that Air Force One flight early on and suddenly supported Obama. I don't get why people sell out for red carpets and, sell out for feeling like they're part of the power structure. I mean, I wouldn't want to be on Air Force One. I wouldn't want to walk around on red carpets. It's embarrassing. It's pathetic. It's all delusional garbage, and it'll all end up being dust. Speaking of Bob, when was the last time you had a chance to talk to him before he died?
Just about a week or so. We took him to the VA down there in Vero Beach, and it was a very good funeral service we had for him. And I could go on for hours about Bob Bowman. But one thing you mentioned, and his wife, Maggie, I spoke with her Sunday, and she's looking forward to getting together with you at some point with family friend Russell Gentili.
We've invited her on the show.
Yes.
Family reached out, and his daughter, whoever would like to get him on,
It's tough. She just lost Bob, and it's a process, but she does want to take you up on that invitation. But as far as the left and the right, it's really the problem here. And you mentioned Dennis Kucinich. When Obama bombed Libya in 2011, March 19th, you had Professor Francis Boyle, who would be viewed as someone from the left, an international law professor who's actually prosecuted war criminals.
Sure.
And former Deputy Attorney General Bruce Fein, which would be considered the right. And then you had pundits left and right. You had members of Congress left and right, all calling for impeaching Obama for attacking Libya. Yet the leadership of the anti-war movement was mute.
That's right, because they're really controlled opposition. CFLVeteransForPeace.org. Thanks for joining us, Phil. We'll be back with your calls.
The Alex Jones channel is the official page of the InfoWar. But don't miss what's happening on our other channels. The Info Warrior, with the week's best videos. Prison Planet Live, where Paul Joseph Watson gives his expert analysis. And keep up with the rest of the InfoWars crew on our other pages. All of our videos are available to repost for educational purposes. See the sidebar of the Alex Jones channel for the subscription links. And remember, you can always find our videos in the highest quality by becoming a member of PrisonPlanet.tv.